So what's praise looking like in your household at the moment? If you're a new subscriber, thanks for popping by. Please do feel free to hit the subscribe button. It's been interesting being at home with the kids for all these chunks of time, isn't it? So I have been really intentional with praise this last week. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but I guess I've got two things going on in my head. One, my kids are just totally adopted to a fairly new learning approach, with everything going online, being on their own, teachers at arm's length. And secondly, I'm conscious that this could go on for some period of time, and I want to help my kids really start to see the impact that they're making. So I think at least once a day I have tried to sit down with each child and just, as casually as possible, but it has been intentional, just really say to them, you know, your work rate today, the way you've applied yourself today, I'm really chuffed with how you've engaged in that. Not only is that good for you today, but that's going to really help you for the rest of this time and in future life. And just trying to really pinpoint that praise into ways in which they can practically see what I mean by. So the challenge with praise is sometimes just really fluffy, empty flattery. I don't think flattery really helps at all, but I think that quality praise that is specific on stuff they've actually done is really, really helpful. We've set up, and I nicked this idea off John Fletcher, we're using 5 kind of key people groups to praise our kids. We've got a warrior for hard work, we've got a commander for leadership, we've got a medic for caregivers, we've got a scientist for problem solvers, and we've got wizards for creatives. And so we're trying to use that language. Oh, you're a great scientist there, you're a great wizard there. Or even when the kids come to us going, oh, I don't know the answer to this, it's like, okay, well, you need to be a scientist now, don't you? You need to go and problem solve that. How might you do that? How might you be a bit of a scientist and a wizard? And then giving them loads of praise for doing that stuff. And even the older ones seem to like it and get involved in that. So the first tip is just be really intentional. Second, use all these phone calls or Skype calls that we're having to grandma. We've got our grandparents ringing up every day to listen to our kids read, so that they stay in the habit of reading and so that they're not annoyed with mum and dad asking them to read. And one of the things I'm trying to do when they get on the phone is to say really, really quickly, great, oh, grandma, you'd be so chuffed with them today, grandma, because they've really engaged in their learning really, really well. We're really impressed with how they're doing it. So just tell grandparents a quick story about what your kids have done that's epic during that day. One of the things that we're majoring on, because we've got 3, is just how well they're getting on together for 85% of the time, I hasten to add very quickly. Don't worry, my negotiation and conflict resolution skills have been put to the test more and more as well. But the point is that by using grandma to tell those stories, or to tell those stories to grandma, you're kind of doubling up on the praise. And then hopefully, obviously, grandma gets the message, gets on the phone and goes, oh, that's really, really good, well done, that's excellent. So I think it's really a case of just using those opportunities, not for flattery in this time, but praising the qualities and the habits that your kids are developing in this time, which is habits which will help them well beyond when we get out of this, but habits which are definitely going to help them in 3 or 4 weeks' time when emotions are stretched even more and we're all feeling a little bit cooped up together, which will be totally natural and totally normal. And the last thing I'd say is, why don't you just go through a sty, excuse me, what did you call that, sty? Kind of a gate year, whatever. The last thing I say is make sure you finish your day by giving yourself loads of encouragement. If you're a single parent, write it down, ring another single parent, brag on what you're doing really, really well, make it specific. And if you are in a couple, make sure you spend time every evening saying together, I think you did this really well. You did that really well, because again, these habits now are just good for relationships, but also will help us when it gets a bit tougher and our relationships are a bit more challenging with one another. Listen, have a great day. What are you doing to kind of praise? How are you encouraging your kids? Drop some comments in the comments box. I'd love to hear. If you're new here, please do subscribe. Have a great day. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.